That's a dope ass hoodie, yo.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. How you doing?
Man, I'm well, man. I'm in LA right now. You know what I'm saying? I just touched down over here. Got a little studio set up in the Airbnb, you know?
All right. All right. How you been finding lockdown? Because it's different people have been affected differently, innit?
Man, honestly, it ain't been too bad for me. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's kind of been like it's been a good moment of reflection and a good time for me to just like focus on
Right.
my pen and focus on my people and myself and just like learning shit. You know what I mean?
All right. All right. And then like COVID, has it affected you? Do you know anyone who got it? Has it affected you or your family or anything?
I've been blessed on that. I've been blessed on that side too, man. I've been blessed on that side too. How about you?
Blessed, man. Like such word, blessed. Like, I just most of the time I stayed in. Most of the time I just been
Right.
building, using the time to focus and, look after my family and just, yeah, I ain't taking no chances. I've done a few things, done a couple of shows where it's like super secure and safe and everything, but this shit's dangerous, man.
You in the
Nobody
lab
knows
in
what it does.
you in the lab in your crib right now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a wicked lab. You ain't gotta leave.
yeah. I heard the VTape. Crazy. It's
Oh, thank you, bro.
crazy. And I was like, I gotta speak to Cody. Like, I need to talk to you because it's been tumultuous for you. I've seen what you've been going through and
Right,
stuff, and it's been, we got a history to begin with, like from
100%.
years ago. Like, so I've seen your journey firsthand. Um, the UK's got much love for Shoreditch Vic. So I
Ah,
just I just wanted to connect with you and just like, yo, the V
yeah.
tape, how did that come about?
Man, I was living in LA for like the past 2 years or before 2020. Since 2018 to 2020, I was living in LA and was kind of like, man, it's like the thing about LA is that uh, I feel like you can lose a sense of self. You
Mm,
know what I'm saying? And it's like Groundhog Day, and it's sunshine every day, and you know, on top of that, in that time, things just got so tumultuous for me. You know what I'm saying? Through my own kind of like a mix of my righteousness, activism, and trying to stand for the right things. You know what I'm saying? But also uh, being inspired by my own insecurities and like the um, just like the toxic culture from which I come. You know what I'm saying? So I ended up in just like a slew of so much drama with this person, drama with that person, and and all that shit just like culminated with the whole X situation, and that shit really impacted. It just impacted my life in a real way. You know what I'm saying? It's like I wake up one day and it's like my phone number's been leaked online and my address has been leaked online, and you know I'm hearing that people got money on my head in in the streets for different things, and so now I'm running around with pistols at all time again, and and I'm catching cases because I'm doing that, and
mm.
I'm attracting that energy, and man, shit just got dark for me, and so it was like, I really had to reset and go home, and like when I went home, and I was like, man, fuck all this other shit. I'm just gonna motherfucking go home, be within my environment, and like just focus on my craft. That's kind of how I ended up with the tape.
Where did you stay when you say you went back home? Like, whereabouts was you living when you went back to Chicago?
Yeah. So I've been living in Pilsen, and it's on the south side. It's not the south side I'm from. You know what I mean? It's like it's a Mexican neighborhood. Um, but you know what I'm saying? I went back like right at the beginning of quarantine,
Right.
and so I went back right at the beginning of quarantine, and three of my best friends, you know what I mean, we just all kind of like moved into the same crib. You know what I mean? Like guys that I've known, one of them for 20 years or 22 years, you know, other ones that I've known for like 15 years. And so it was just kind of like, you know, in a lot of ways, it's like going back there was like, it was super humbling also, you know, because it's like, I was in LA, like, you know, in rapper cribs and, you know, $1 million homes and shit. And, you know, and then I went back to Chicago, and it's like, I'm like, literally I got roommates, you know what I mean? Not just because people stay in my crib, which is usually the case, but I'm like, you know what I mean? I got roommates. When I was in LA, I was riding a motorcycle all the time. I came back, I didn't have no car. I'm driving around my mom's Prius, you know what I mean? It just kind of like, I don't know, just put me back like in a real person's mind frame. You know what I'm saying? Because man, Common, he got a line about this shit that I love. He was like, this industry will make you lose intensity. The common sense in me remembers the basement. I'm Morpheus in this hip hop matrix, exposing fake shit. And I just went back to the basement, you know, and like in every sense of the word. You know what I mean?
How did your people and like friends, old friends, how did they react to seeing you come back home? Like, what was that like?
Man, you know, people were really loving it, man, because it's like um, the thing about me where I'm from and just like in Chicago is that the circles that I move in, it's like these are people that I've I've known all of them, you know, 10, 15, 20 years, and people that have been locked in with me since I was, you know, a 14-year-old kid, like selling weed to get studio time and freestyling at, you know, at leaders and at boutique stores and shoe stores and shit like that, you know, and seeing a motherfucker go through these different things, but they know my heart though, you know what I mean? People that know my character, and so they've also seen, you know, me go astray. They've seen me get lost. They've seen me be, you know, caught up in the drugs and, you know, just be at dark places where it's like everybody can kind of see it in my face and see it in my actions, you know, that it's like that my chakras weren't aligned, you know what I mean? And so my people definitely, you know, love to see me come home and like really like be myself, you know what I'm saying?
When you was going through the craziness, who was around you that was like, yo, Vic, yo, what's going on, man? What the fuck? Like, who was that person that was always there, that was always that stood by you through the whole thing? Like, who are the people that were by you like throughout? Because you know, in these situations, you can be in a situation as an artist where you get a lot of shine, and you get the fake friends that come around, you get people that come around, and but they go quick. They're the first to go. They're the first to scatter like roaches the minute shit gets hard and shit gets tough. Like, who was in your corner like when you was going through all of this?
Man, my manager Cody, obviously, who you know what I'm saying, like Leak Youssef. Leak Youssef is like one of the main people that I do everything with, you know what I mean? And just like that it's always been rocking with me. You know, kind of like the thing is, I was in LA, and it's like in LA, just by nature of the circumstance, I just had a lot of people saying yes a lot. You know what I'm saying? And it's not because they are bad people and they aren't people that, you know, that got love for me. It's because it's not motherfuckers that we've been rocking together since high school and since middle school, you know what I mean, that are just like not afraid to call me on some shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Also, like when you like living like in the way that I was living, it's like in the way I was living for a lot of years, it's like when everybody that you spend all your time around on a daily basis are people that like in one way or another, like depend on you. You know what I'm saying? For a living, it's just kind of like it creates a different dynamic. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? From
mm,
being around people that like purely are just like, man, I love you. You know what I mean? I want to see you make the best motherfucking decisions. You know,
mm,
like my girl Asha, she's one person that like, you know, just was real with me through everything. You know what I mean? And you gotta appreciate those people that will, even when you are in a tough spot, and you know what I'm saying, you want people to be like, yeah, you're right, you did the right. People to be like, man, what the fuck, why you get yourself in this
mm.
situation?
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because that's gonna piss you off in the moment, but in the long run, you know, you can learn from that, you can grow from that, as opposed to people being like, no, you know, you're right, you know what I mean, you're right, fuck all them, you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
you need a mix of both, but it's like I do appreciate people that in relationships that are like, when it, even when it's difficult and you do not want to hear it, will still tell you the things that you need to internalize for you to grow. You know what I mean?
yeah. Mm. Yo, the Vendetta track killed that shit. That shit's hard. Like I wasn't expecting the project. So like normally I get to jump off on things. I know what's coming, and or like sometimes I'm lucky enough to get it like in advance. But it was a dope surprise to see it just come out, and then I listen. You actually bought it to play it on my show. Like I was,
But
that's kind of like unheard of for DJs in this day and age. But
um,
but that shit was dope. Like lyrically, you killed it, and you know, it's like even the line where you're saying like, "Nuz, like act like I quit fucking bitches." It's like you was addressing everything. It was crazy. Like what headspace was you in when you was writing that? Like because it could be considered to be a little too honest. Like the way that you
but
just went in.
yeah, you know, my guy, my guy Kirby, he has a line called Pierre Moss. He's a designer.
Right.
Um, you know what I'm saying? He was like one of the main people that conceptually, um, you know, had the concept to do the VTape, and it's kind of a part of a bigger thing. You know what I'm saying? Um, and so that particular intro was like, that was a lot of him being like, kind of uh, like guidance. You know what I mean? Like, and being like, man, we need to hear you say these things. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm,
I'm,
mm,
because it's like a lot of time, I'm a conscious rapper at heart. You know what I mean?
mm, mm,
Like on some real shit. You know what I mean?
mm,
Um, and so it's like, you know, I just kind of had to get in that mode. It's like, honestly, I was just in Chicago, man, just like locked in. Like my whole process, you know, recently has been like, it's been really very much so like when I was a kid, like when I was in like high school, like, and I used to just write all my raps in my room in my mom's basement. You know what I mean? But
mm,
just like completely alone. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't worrying about making beats. I wasn't worrying about changing the
mm.
snare on this
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? I was just like,
yeah,
I got beats, I got raps. I'm just gonna do this every day. You know what I'm saying? And like, just like really kind of like solitude and just diligence. You know what I'm saying? And that was really kind of like my mind frame for all this shit. So when I was doing the Vendetta shit, I actually I wrote like four I wrote like four different verses for that shit. You know what I
oh,
mean? And
serious.
just like, and like put the best things, you know what I mean, the best lines and shit, and ordered them, jumbled it up. It was kind of a different way than I've done things before. Like I was just like, this beat so hard, I need to really do my thing. I just, niggas was like, yo, we've been hearing you playing this beat for 4 days, fam. Like, what's up? You got some raps?
All right. Yo, the Machiavelli joint, right? I'm not a rapper, so I'm not going to attempt to rap. But the line where you say, I rock like the OJ, I'm a backstabber because I owned myself. Bars.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Oh my
Is
God.
and I know that's gonna go over a lot of people's heads. You've got to know about hip hop to know that shit. But that shit is deep. Like, did you get any feedback from Hove on that? Like, does he heard that? Like,
Oh, really fuck with the tape. Yeah, he hit me up and was like just telling me how he really fuck with it. Yeah, see the old heads, they was like the old heads is like, how you know about how you know and I'm like, nigga, I'm a student of this shit. You know, at the end of the day, it's like, you know what I'm saying? I, I'm a student of this shit first. I'm a fan of this shit first. It's like, you know me, Sim. It's like, you know what I mean? Like I know things that you did 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Like it's like I be dialed in and it's like I just study this shit and just, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, that's dope. And also on the same track, you say I'm a beast boy. I just love to self-sabotage. How easy is it to admit that or even say that?
You know that is like kind of coming into this shit, you know what I'm saying? It was like the things that the main uh aim that I came into this particular tape with is vulnerability, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm.
being like brutally honest, you know. There's other songs, you know what I mean, where I say shit that I'm kind of glad didn't even make it on there because it was like too bad. You know what I mean? Because it was
Right,
like because it was too much. You know what I mean?
right.
Um,
Yeah,
and like, you know what I'm saying? Like the I know that Beastie Boys and Sabotage, that's gonna go past a lot of people.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but doing stuff like that, it's kind of like it's honestly it's kind of freeing. You know, it kind of like it's liberating in a way because it's like to be able to just to uh to be real with yourself, you know what I'm saying, and be and accept yourself and be okay with yourself. It's like throughout the whole project, I'm kind of um, I'm doing that and approaching that in a way that gives people a window into like into why I am the way I am, and also teaches me. You know what I'm saying? Like
mm,
on the record, Too Honest, I'm talking about like how you know, I found this notebook when I was 5 years old,
mm,
and like I'm going through it, and it's like the shit says it's got a page where it's just everything it's written like I hate myself, I want to kill myself, and I'm like 5 years old, maybe six, first grade,
crazy.
you know? And I'm
You,
and
you,
so
do you remember doing that at the
nah,
time? Like, wow.
I don't remember that at all. But I've struggled with like depression and suicide and that shit my whole life. You know what I mean? Like that's always existed. Um, that's always existed for me. And kind of like peeping that though is some shit that gives context for me. You know what I mean? And it's like and and it makes me kind of understand that it's like, you know, it is what it is. It's like everybody's journey is different. My journey is
Mm,
that, you know, for whatever reasons, and I have certain understandings of it, that, you know, that my mental health has always been a struggle. You know what I mean? It's always been something, but in overcoming that and in, you know, pushing through that adversity, I think that I know that there is a strength that I gain, and also um, a power that is given to me to be able to help other people, because a
mm,
lot of people go through that shit. You know what I mean?
mm. Heard that. On that same track, to be honest, there's a couple of lines. You says, "Growing up, I was a product of my biracial confusion, neither black nor white. I guess that made me translucent." Like, I didn't, I didn't think that was an issue for you. Like, just knowing you, I couldn't imagine that being an issue for you. That's what I'm saying. But is it kind of that deep? Like, how does?
Oh, 100%. You know, it's like just being that like my father is Ghanaian, you know, and my mother's a white American. Now in the UK in London, many of the black people that one may come across, you know what I mean, are Ghanaians, are Nigerians, are
Mm,
Jamaicans, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? in America, especially on the south side of Chicago, it's like that's an anomaly, you know? So on top of not feeling a part of, you know, either race, and race being like a kind of amorphous and a fake concept, I also just didn't feel a part of any culture, you know what I'm saying, as a kid, because it's like my pops is from Africa, you know what I mean? It's like I don't know about house music. I don't know what stepping is. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm,
my mom's white. So there were so many ways in which I didn't feel like, you know, really kind of just accepted anywhere when I was a kid. And I think that ultimately is kind of something that impacted, you know, me having these insecurities. And as I got older, you know, I say a line in that same song where it was talking about a later part of my life, but I said I turned to violence to be validated, violated
mm,
probation again and again. You know, as I got older, I realized that like I realized that there were certain ways in which I could circumvent, you know, not feeling enough like I did when I was a kid, you know,
mm,
and I started like getting fresh, you know what I'm saying, and talking slick and
mm,
being violent and you know and hustling and just being cool, you know, all the things that you
mm,
could say cool, and that shit kind of got me past feeling like, you know, specifically not accepted, but I think it
mm,
always still that shit always stuck with me because the things that we go through as children, it's like, you know, we never really get rid of them. We just learn to be
mm,
okay with them. You know what I'm saying?
mm. How do you feel seeing what's going on in America right now? Because, you know, there's been a lot of tension over the last, always been tension. Like, you know, here in the UK, but more so in the US, definitely more so in the US. And it's like the situation with George Floyd, the murder of George Floyd, it kind of, I think that was like too much. It went too far, and you know, people felt that worldwide, you know, and with the whole um advent of the Black Lives Matter movement, and you know, a lot of things are getting discussed now that was never discussed. Things are getting pulled apart that was never getting, you know, talked about or addressed before. Where 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 how do you feel about what's been going on, just bearing in mind, like, in what you was talking about, where you was growing up and to where you are now? Like, how's that impact on you now?
Man, honestly, it's like I love it and it troubles me. You know, I love
Mm,
to see um, some of the conversations that have become commonplace and reparations and prison abolition and defunding the police and
mm,
just, you know, a resistance against policing in general being like a widespread conversation because these are things that, you know, that we've been talking about for years, you know what I
mm,
mean? And we've been standing on. And
mm.
in 2016, when I was making that kind of music, I know a lot of people was like, why is Vic so mad? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and it's like, yo, this shit is not new. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not even worse now
Mm,
than it has been. It's just more visible. You know what I'm saying? Um, but you know, my pops, he kind of has an interest in he has an interesting perspective on this whole shit, which is that he's like, yo, this is like white people's civil war between each other. You know what I mean?
mm,
We're almost we're almost caught in the middle of this shit. If you look at Kenosha and see, you know, that kid Kyle Rittenhouse shooting these you know, anti-Trump
mm,
protesters, he's shooting white people. You know what I mean?
mm,
Um, it's uncanny, but it's also like, yo, this is the situation that's been built. This framework of America can not be overlooked. It can't be removed from the equation until America is really removed from the equation as it stands. Because it's like
mm,
I'm reading a book right now called Cast. Um, it's ill, you know. It's like reframing the reframing like the racial situation in America as a caste system. Um, and caste system being India, untouchables, you know, citizens, human beings ranked by their status at birth. And that's really what you got going on in America. And like, there's just ill facts in there where she's talking about how she kind of compares the Indian caste system to the U.S. caste system to the accelerated Nazi Germany caste system. And she talks about a meeting at the beginning of the Nazi Party when they were first getting in power, and Hitler was the chancellor, and he wasn't the Führer yet, but he, you know, was working towards it. And as they were developing their plans for how to subjugate the Jews, their main inspiration was U.S. law, you know, was Jim Crow law. That was the main, that was Jim Crow law, and they looked at South Africa, you know what I mean? But their primary inspiration for how to weave this hatred and this racism into their actual laws was the United States. You know what I'm saying? And there were things about the United States that the Nazis felt were too severe, like the one drop rule. Yeah, like the fact that if you have one drop of black blood, you know what I'm saying, that you are considered a Negro and you can't ride in the same train car with, you know, with a white man. You know what I'm saying? It's shit that the Nazis felt the U.S. was, that they was like, y'all took it a little bit too far with that. You know what I mean? It's like when you keep that, you think about the fact that, so they're looking at the U.S. for like the miscegenation laws and like laws against interracial marriage. You know what I'm saying? And they're taking that and they're using that. You know what I'm saying? And when you think about the fact that a state like Alabama didn't even repeal the law that banned interracial marriage until the year 2000. And when they just pulled it back in the year 2000. And when they did, 11 of these electoral justices, 11 of their ass voted to keep the shit. So it's like they just made this shit is just behind the scenes, you know what I mean? So it's like a lot of people look at America and you see our exceptional Negroes, you know what I mean? You see us in the music industry, you see the basketball players and the football players, and you're like, yeah, niggas is really having it in America. But it's like, in reality, the average black household has $1 or of wealth to every $100 of wealth in a white household, and is expected to be $0 to every $100 of wealth in a white household by the year 2050. Like, niggas is completely oppressed in this bitch, and what's happening now is inescapable.
Who are you gonna vote for?
I gotta do what I gotta do.
I mean, I gotta ask the question because I feel like, you know, hip hop was very instrumental with Obama being elected. You know, rappers are the voice of the voiceless. Rappers speak to the youth better than any politician will ever be able to speak to the youth. So, you know, November the 3rd's coming up, and it affects everybody worldwide. It's not just in America. It's like, yo, because when you get crazy leaders, that inspires crazy leaders all across Europe. It inspires fuckery everywhere else. So, but yeah, like, are you gonna vote?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I gotta do what I gotta do. Obviously, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and you know, I think that Angela Davis is the person that has you know, kind of explained this situation the best, and just that in this election, what it is we're looking to put someone in power that we have the best potential of being able to put pressure on, you know, for our needs and our agenda of our own liberation. You know, are Joe Biden and Kamala Harris one of the most imperfect vessels that I could imagine? Yes. You know what I mean? Completely they are. But, you know, a friend of mine named Richie Reseda, we do a podcast we've been like putting together, It's been an Instagram show thus far. It's called Abolition X, where we speak to incarcerated guests. But he actually he made a men's group, a feminist men's group, when he was in prison in California.
Oh,
And
wow.
he did an ill post the other day where he was like, you know, Kamala Harris, who was she was like the district attorney or prosecutor in California when he was locked up. And he was like, Kamala Harris's history in criminal law, you know, and as a prosecutor is super troubling. And in the realm of, you know, incarceration and policing, it's like, honestly, it's gonna be difficult. You know what I'm saying? Because all skin folk ain't your kin folk. You know what I mean? Bottom line. But and he was like, when I was in, he was like, it's gonna fucking break my heart. You know, the fact that my first vote, because he was locked up when he was, you know, first eligible. He was locked up for 10 years when he was first old enough to vote. He was incarcerated. And he was like, my first vote for president is going to have to be for the woman whose name I saw on the paper when I got back my denied request for an appeal on my case in the penitentiary, Kamala Harris. And he said, and even still, I'm going to vote for her, and you should too. And I'm like, if that nigga if he can get past it, you know what I'm saying? If somebody that has really been more impacted by the policies that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden represent and have implemented, if somebody that spent 10 years in pen over it can, you know, be strong enough to like do what has to be done regardless, then anybody who's like too disillusioned and jaded and like, I ain't got no good options, I'm not gonna vote, you full of shit. You know what I mean? Because you ain't got no skin in the game like Richie does. You know what I mean?
Should rappers run for office?
I mean, you know, I think that like personally, I would never run for office because politicians are hypocrites that don't want to listen. You know what I mean? Like on some Tupac shit. Like, you know, it's like there's so much lying. There's so much. In order to be a politician, it's like you have to sacrifice people's real livelihood. You know what I mean? You have to be willing, you know, to be with the drone strikes in Syria. It's like I'm not okay with shit like that. I personally can't. And I haven't seen any rappers that should be, you know what I mean, running for office. I think there might be like an Indian guy that might have done it. I don't even think it's whether should rappers run for office, but it's like it's got to be on a person to person basis. You know what I mean?
Let's take it back to the project, the VTape. Like before that, you did, you know, 93 Punks, and it was a rock album. And Vic, I'm a fan. Like I wasn't ready for it. Like, like when you did that album, then come back with what rap fans want. You've come back with what Day One Vic Mensa fans want. Like, did you ever feel like, you know what, I might be alienating my fan base here? Did you ever feel like there was any kind of risk, or did you ever feel like, you know, it's a bold move, it's a brave move. I totally commend you for it. But did you ever feel like I could be fucking with my career doing this? Was there ever that, or you were just like, I'm just doing what I'm gonna do? Fuck it.
Both, honestly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm such a Gemini man, and like, you know, it's kind of like there's a lot of pieces to it. It's like, you know, on one hand, I grew up on the rock music shit. Like that was the first thing that I was ever into. And, you know, you see photos of me when I was 5 years old, dressed up like Jimi Hendrix with a guitar and shit, you know, so that always existed. And I kind of had, you know, fucked around in a lot of different genres of music. And, you know, kind of on top of that, when I made that, I was feeling like, I was just feeling very like, I was feeling turned off from rap in general. You know, that's when I'm like, I had the whole rap game, or at least it felt like that to me. You know, that probably like 3/4 of the rappers that are in the rap game. You know what I mean? With the
Yeah,
exception of a couple top
yeah,
guys, had an opinion to say about me at that
yeah,
moment. Um, and I also was feeling like, on certain things I had really like wrapped my wrapped my heart out, and label things wasn't always working, and I wasn't even feeling like that shit was appreciated. I felt like motherfuckers way more so wanted to hear like some auto tune and some
mm,
808s. You know what
mm,
I'm saying? And I got the whole rap game dissing me, and I was just kind of like, man, fuck this rap shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna go do this shit. And on top of that, it's like I'm a fucking Gemini, so it's like, you know, I could be, I could just, I'm crazy. You know what I mean? I recognize that shit. Like, I'm full, I'm full blown crazy. It's a lot of drugs going on because the motherfuckers trying to like kind of get my mind off of all the drama. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? And it's just a lot of street shit going on, and I'm just like, I don't even feel like dealing with this rap shit right now.
mm.